And we're live. So, welcome to the seventh episode of the BusyBee Boxing Podcast. Obviously, here to bring you all things boxing. Please like the content, share the content, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter at BusyBee Boxing and our Instagram page at BusyBee Boxing as well. Um, on the panel today, we have the usual suspects. We have Ayo, Idris, Mike, and myself here to cover all topics. And yeah, we're good to go. Obviously, before we start, just a quick shout out to all the mums out there. Happy Mother's Day. Hope everybody had a good day. But now let's get down to business. So, first point of call, we're going to cover a few topics today. We're going to start off by looking at last night's action. So we had Scott Quigg going up against Oscar Valdez. We had Mikey Garcia against Lipinets. And then we're going to go back to last week's action, Wilder Ortiz, have a look at that fight and what that means for heavyweight boxing. And then really we just want to tackle the big issue in boxing now, because as we were saying offline in the group, it's getting into a bit of a joke now. PEDs in sport. Obviously we had the Canelo reveal early on in the week, and we really just want to cover that and expose the nasty truths about this whole situation. So yeah, without further ado, let's kick things off. Ayo, I know you caught some of the action last night. I don't know what fight you want to start with, but feel free to kind of shoot from the hip, mate.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to last night's action, start off with Scott Quigg. I was quite intrigued with the build-up of the Scott Quigg fight because obviously he failed. I mean, he didn't fail, but I mean he was overweight for the fight by a couple of pounds, and they build up this mantle for Scott Quigg that he loves the gym, he likes training, you can't stop him from training and all this bravado. So I was quite surprised when he weighed in over and he was overweight by 2-3 pounds. But of course, there was reasons for that. Apparently he had a fractured foot, and that he couldn't train as hard. And he said that he did a big workout and nothing budged. So that was the reasons for that. And then that sort of linked him with the fight, because when you watch the fight, I'm not a really big fan of Scott Quigg, but I mean I watched him against Frampton, and with against Frampton, and I compared the two fights, he was more sharper. He let off more shots, but for some reason he just seemed a bit more sluggish. I don't know if it was the extra weight he was carrying. I don't know if it was because of the foot was affecting him, but he just wasn't. It wasn't the best Scott Quigg. Just put it like that. It wasn't the best Scott Quigg. Valdez put angles on him, combinations. He kept on from what I saw, he kept on like pushing him back because he wanted to fight, wanted to have distance, while Scott Quigg wanted to get up close and make it a bit messy. And I think I saw your post on Instagram, Jay. I mean, Scott Quigg's face was a picture at the end. And I mean, it wasn't like Scott Quigg wasn't letting off the shots. He was certainly letting off the shots, but the cleaner work was coming from Valdez. And, the angles, the combinations, overhand rights and, body shots as well. They were both, it was a war. It was a war. It wasn't like Scott Quigg got completely outclassed in there. I wouldn't say it like that, but it wasn't the best Scott Quigg. And for him to have won yesterday, it would have had to be the best Scott Quigg. What you got was an overweight Scott Quigg and not a proper sharp Scott Quigg. So, that's pretty much my roundup of that fight. Moving on to the Mikey Garcia fight. I mean, mate, this guy, seriously, if I wanted to be a boxer, I would model myself on Mikey Garcia. And I mean, there's only a couple boxers in the sport right now who I say has everything. Like Terence Crawford, I'd say is one of them, and probably Lomachenko. And Mikey Garcia is in that bracket. And the reason why I say that is because he's got everything: angles, jab. He does all the basics, and people say he does all the basics well. I say he does all the basics fantastic. Seriously, his jab is wonderful. He's got power. He's got angles. He's got combination. He's got movement. I mean, I seriously can't pick a fault with this guy. And I mean, he just showed the guy angle. I think he had him down twice. One of them in the 7. Nice, sharp left hook. I mean, Mikey Garcia, I mean, I seriously rate him, and he deserves everything he's got now, because he's one of, I think I read today that he's one of 2 fighters, I think Marquez and Pacquiao, and him now are a four weight world champion. I think it's featherweight, super featherweight, lightweight, and super lightweight. So he deserves everything he gets. And I mean, if he can move up into the welterweights, I don't know if he can make welterweights, mate. That mate, I swear to God, he will cause a few problems. So I mean, yeah, wonderful fight yesterday, and I mean, Mikey Garcia completely outclassed the I can't pronounce his name, Lipinets or whatever his name is, but yeah, that's my roundup there.
Hey, a quick question, yeah, and some great points there, man. So I appreciate the feedback. Obviously, I'm too much of a casual. I didn't tune in to the Quigg Oscar Valdez fight, which I should have, because it sounded like a bit of a war. Apparently, I was aware of the kind of weight issues of Scott Quigg, but apparently he had some sort of foot injury as well. Just a quick assessment on Valdez. The guy was quite highly rated coming up through the ranks. After yesterday's performance, do you think he would have a chance against a Carl Frampton or Leo Santa Cruz? Do you rate him that highly?
Definitely,
You do?
definitely,
Okay.
definitely. On last night's performance, I mean, he did just as good as Frampton against Scott Quigg, if not even better, to be honest with you. I mean, the scorecards were quite wide. I don't know if you lot were aware of the scorecards, but I mean, I think I only gave about 2 rounds to Scott Quigg. It was because Scott Quigg was letting his hands go and he was coming forward. He was the aggressor, but it was just the cleaner work was just coming from Valdez. And that guy, he throws angles, and when you can't see the punches coming, then you know that's it really. I mean, your post on Instagram said the whole story: broken jaw, broken nose. I mean, the guy, and the thing is, Scott Quigg's no mug. Scott Quigg's a former world champion himself. I mean, he's boxed at a high level, but I mean, he got beat by the better man yesterday, and I think Valdez, yeah, he'll give those two fighters you mentioned a real tough time. I won't say that he'll beat Frampton and Santa Cruz, but I mean, that will be a fight. It will be a 50-50 fight.
And on your point of Mikey Garcia, because it sounded like you gave him a lot of props, and Mike is one of my guys as well at the moment. You mentioned if he steps up to welterweight, I think Mikey, I 100% agree. He does everything like very good, like not just well. He's not just like a jack of all trades, master of none. Like he does everything like at a high level. Do you think that he could hang with like the likes of? I think him versus Crawford would be an interesting fight. But do you think he could he's got the size to be in there with like an Errol Spence or Keith Thurman, or do you think he looks a bit small? He would be a bit small at welterweight.
He gives away the size. He gives away the size, but because because he's so good, he'll give them problems. He'll give them problems. I mean, I'm not saying that he'll come into the welterweights and dominate the division. I'm not at all saying that. What I'm simply saying is that he'll give the top guys in that division problems, and people won't be like thinking, oh yeah, we'll be grabbing at the chance to fight him. He'll be a bit like Ortiz, like an avoided fighter. I mean, I rate him very, very, very highly, and being a 4-weight world champion now is not easy. And I mean, and I think he took some time out. I don't know for what reason, but I mean, he's had time out as well, so it's not like he's been active. So I give Mikey Garcia props.
That's good stuff. Yeah, he had a contractual dispute with Top Rank and Bob Arum. So
Okay.
yeah, during that period, he couldn't fight for like 30 months or something like that, and he came back and he was just super sharp. So yeah, I hear that. Mega Mike, your time to shine, mate. What did you make of last night's action?
First of all, I didn't see the Scott Quigg fight. I heard the issues about he didn't make weight, etc., etc. He tried to burn it off. But me personally, I don't rate Scott Quigg. He's not one of my fighters. He doesn't excite me. The best fight he had was arguably against Frampton. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't step for that one. Moving on to Mikey Garcia, mate. That was a fight. That's for so far. I think that maybe could be contender for fight of the year. I know it's only early, but it was just completely. He bossed him. Absolutely schooled him. I gave Garcia unanimous points. I think Lipchenko won 2 rounds at a push. But yeah, I echo everything that Ayo said. He's got everything. And yeah, it was just a complete annihilation. He's got everything. I think if he moves up to welterweight again, he may not give the big boys like titles, but he will definitely cause them problems. But yeah, Garcia, definitely.
Do you think, Mikey, on the Mikey Garcia point, because he's obviously a hot name in the sport, he beat Broner, he beat Deja and Zlatan, so, and now he's captured belts in 4 weight divisions.
Oh, wait, yeah, that's like Thomas Hearn style, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Ayo made the point that he's matched Juan Manuel Marquez and Manuel Pacquiao. There's another fighter in there. But how do you think he looks when he steps up with the big boys? Because, Broner, for example, who he fought, is probably like a small 147 fighter. Do you think Mikey Garcia's skills translate to like an Errol Spence? Because Errol Spence he's almost like a middleweight in there. How do you think Garcia would hang against a Spence or a Furman?
I think he would definitely. I think he should definitely, if he can do what he done and what he did yesterday at a higher level against some real opposition. But don't forget, some people raise their bar against better opposition, and I think he's got the potential to raise his bar against bigger opposition. But yeah, I think he'll handle himself quite well. He may not win. I don't think he'll unify. But like I said, I think he'll maybe capture at least one world title at that weight, and he will cause the other boys some problems, definitely.
And Mike, lastly on that point, are you rating him right now in your top 10 pound for pound or top 5? How highly do you rate him?
Top five.
Wow.
On that performance last night, top five.
Okay.
He's got everything, and he's got power as well. I mean, the guy, the knockouts look like devastating. And the thing is, he's one of these fighters that once he sees an opening, he's getting you out of there. He ain't one of these ones just like, oh yeah, let them get a second breath, second win. No, mate. If the option's there to end the fight, he takes it. So yeah, I'd be interested to see how he develops over, or what his next move is. Yeah, but Garcia, yeah, definitely one to follow this year. Definitely.
No, I hear that. Idris, on to you, mate. I don't know how much you caught of last night's action, so kind of fair play if you didn't. But focusing on Mikey Garcia, what's your thoughts on him as a fighter and how he would look at the kind of 147 mix?
Well, I didn't watch the Scott Quigg fight, just to get that one out of the way. I did watch the Lipinets Garcia fight. I do echo all of your views on the fight itself and how good he is. Obviously, I think Lipinets, he hit him with some good shots as well. He actually, when Lipinets got knocked down in the 7th round, he actually hit Garcia with a left hook as well. And Garcia's one just connected a bit better. I do think Garcia is really good. I think he's really, really good. I would worry for him if he fought a Furman, not Furman necessarily, maybe Errol Spence, just because I think even though Garcia might have, let's say, just a tiny bit more skill than Spence, Spence is an absolute beast, and he can take a punch. And Furman and Spence is relentless in the way he attacks, and I think skill-wise, he'll give them problems, but I don't think he'd carry enough power, especially talking about Spence, being able to go up to middleweight and, walk him around at about 165. I think he walks around at. Do you know what I mean? I think he'd be too strong for Garcia. Maybe Garcia's better skill-wise, but I think he'd just be too strong for him. But I think Garcia is a great, great fighter. He was talking about he wants to go back down to 135 and unify the division, then come up back to 140 to unify, and then hopefully then go up to 147 and fight maybe Danny Garcia. And I think that'd be a very, very good fight. So, I rate him highly, man. I'll put him, he definitely in the top 10 pound for pound as well.
No, I agree with that, Idris. I think you made some good points, and I agree with all the points raised. I'm kind of siding with you more, Idris, on Mikey Garcia. I think he's got the skills, but I think at 147, those boys are big, man. Those boys are big.
They're strong.
They're strong as well. Like, and they bore down. I mean, as you said, Errol Spence. I don't know what he walks around at, but I would think it was around middleweight, possibly even super middle. Do you know what I mean? Like, he is massive on fight night, and it's all good. And the point you made about Lipinets was a sharp point. Like, I know Garcia did dominate the fight last night, but there were occasions where he got caught.
Yeah, I mean,
And
he didn't look clean. He didn't look
yeah,
clean after the fight. He got hit a few times.
yeah, he got hit a few times, and that Lipinets, you know what? Credit to him. I think his stocks raised since obviously post fight, because I thought he would just get blown away, and he seemed like a decent fighter, kind of tricky. But it's one thing getting hit with those shots by Lipinets, and if Errol Spence is landing some of those shots,
Yeah,
you know,
and that,
yeah, it's not going to be a good night. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I kind of agree with you on that, Idris.
yeah. I mean, I think it would be. I think when you get fighters who are of a similar level, so when I say similar level, I'm not talking about their skill levels the same, but the power and the relentlessness of their or the ferocity of their fighting skills. And let's say, Errol Spence can do all the basics very, 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 very well. Let's say Mikey Garcia can do the basics better than Errol Spence, but then Errol Spence counteracts that with his bigger size and his greater power, and obviously his come forward action style fighting. And I think they'd be of a similar level. And I think the size difference would, nullify Garcia's skill level, just because I think, Errol would just be too strong for him. And I think Garcia he definitely come up to 147 and cause problems. And fighters would definitely question about fighting him, especially after his Broner fight. I think he showed a lot of skill in the Broner fight. And I think other guys in the division would question fighting him. But someone like a Spence, even Furman, I don't think they'd fear him. They'd take the challenge, I think. And but yeah, he could definitely. I'd love to see him and Terence Crawford. To be fair, I'd love to see that, because again, Terence Crawford's just coming up, and he won't be as big as the other welterweights. So I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that would be a good fight with Crawford. They fought in the amateurs though, and apparently Crawford beat him. That I'm sure I've heard that before. So yeah, that would be a good fight. Just lastly on Mikey Garcia, Idris, do you think that because and that's saying that the good big man beats a good little man, right? That's the kind of point you're making. Do you think he should just really go back down to lightweight and just, I don't know, make the fight with Lomachenko? Because apparently Lomachenko it's been going around on Twitter today. He signed a fight to fight Linares.
Yeah,
So
May 12th, I think that
yeah,
is.
May 12th. Yeah, I see that date getting thrown about today. So just say Lomachenko does come through that, which is not a foregone conclusion because Linares is a good fighter. Do you think Garcia and Lomachenko should just have like a super fight? Because that would do
Of
massive numbers
course,
on pay-per-view.
of course. I think Loma, would have to beef up a little, just because I think Mikey Garcia is just a bit bigger than him. But I think they have to fight. They have to fight, man. They have to. I don't even know why you'd even ask that question. Of course, they should fight. Of course,
No.
that would be. Oh, do you know what? That's one of the ones where there are two fighters who I rate so highly, but they're not on my radar. Like for me, the fighters that interest me are Spence and what's it called, and the Charlos. Those are the guys that I'm excited. Oh my god, these guys are fighting. Whereas with Garcia and Lomachenko, as good as they are, as great as they are, I don't get the same butterflies or the same anxiety and anticipation for their fights. But I think if those two were to fight each other, I'd stay up to watch that fight. I don't care what time it is. I'm watching the build up. I'm watching everything of that fight. They've got to fight. They've got to.
I get that. Don't worry, we're gonna get to the Charlos, man. We're gonna get to the Charlos. But okay, cool. That's some good stuff on Mikey Garcia. Let's move things on because we've got a lot to cover. Idris, if you wanna kick things off on looking back at last week's action, obviously we had the big heavyweight clash between Wilder and Ortiz. We haven't talked about it online. We've talked about it at length offline. What were your thoughts on the fight? And just kind of, a week on reflection, what it means for the heavyweight division. How do you kind of interpret the whole event?
I think we touched on it last week offline, like you mentioned, and I think we have to start looking at Wilder's record a bit more closely. Obviously, looking at his opponents, and we have to say to ourselves, maybe he's a better boxer than what we give him credit for, because we cannot deny Ortiz's boxing ability. Like, of all the heavyweights out there, in the division, he's probably the best boxer, like pure boxer, especially having the Cuban background, the extensive amateur background as well. For him, yes, that round 7, there's some debate. Could the referee have stopped it the way the onslaught that Wilder had to withstand? But the fact that he couldn't get Wilder out of there, and even though Ortiz was up on the cards, it was still 2-3 rounds, and this was coming round 8, 9. Had Wilder won 10, 11, 12, it becomes a very, very close fight. And as you saw from round 8, even though Ortiz still won round 8, his energy levels dropped. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously Wilder won round 9, and then got him out there in round 10. But you say Ortiz was up let's say 3 rounds, and then Wilder goes and wins round 9, 10, 11, 12, or 9, 10, 11. It becomes a very, very close fight. So we have to then say, maybe we're underestimating how good a boxer Wilder is. He's very unorthodox, very awkward, gangly, probably has the longest reach, probably other than the British fighter. What's his name?
Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury in the division. So I think it makes it very interesting, the Joseph Parker and Joshua fight now, because we're going to see again how good is AJ. The division is just, it's the way I look at it is Wilder is the boogeyman, Wilder is the scary dude, and if he lands on anyone, and he made a point before the Ortiz fight, he actually said this about every heavyweight. He says, look, when I hit a guy, he is knocked out. He is TKO'd. There's no technical knockout. He goes, I knock a guy out flat, plain and simple. The fight is done. If Joshua knocks a guy out, it's a technical knockout. He was making a point about the Takam fight. He goes, from round, you saw from round, I think round 1, that Takam took some flush punches, and you could see the referee already wanted to stop the fight. You know, there's a lot of, he said, I'm not going to expose it, that stuff for behind closed doors, but you can see already that the fight shouldn't be stopped. The Takam fight shouldn't be stopped, but he gets another technical knockout. You know, how many of these is he going to get? And he was just trying to make the point that, you know, I'm going to show them the truth. And he says, obviously, he's going to be at the Joseph Parker fight, and he's going to say what needs to be said to AJ's face, so that there's no misconceptions as to how he feels about fighting him. So, me personally, I think Wilder's performance, it showed a lot. You know, we now can say he's been tested. He's probably fought, you know, the 2nd or 3rd best guy in the division and beaten him. Yeah, man, I love the heavyweight division again. Do you know what I mean? These guys have made it very interesting. So yeah, I rate Wilder, man. I rate him highly.
Idris, just on so you made the point, you touched on briefly the what happened in round 7, right? So Ortiz obviously had Wilder in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah.
Do you compare that situation? I know the comparisons have been made, and I won't be the first one to make it, but do you compare that situation to when, you know, Klitschko couldn't close the show against AJ? Do you see parallels?
I see parallels for the simple fact. I see parallels just on the fact that they were both, you know, Wilder and AJ were both stunned heavily. What I would say the difference was Wilder never went down. So Wilder technically still had fight in him. He wasn't down. He was, even though he was taking a lot of punishment, he wasn't down. Joshua went down. Now, when you knock a guy down, you know, you usually just go in for the kill. Okay, I've knocked this guy down. This guy, I've hit him hard enough to make him lose his balance. He's on the floor. Now he must be so disoriented, I must attack him. That's the difference. Ortiz did not stop attacking Wilder. He did not stop attacking him. If you watch that again, he did not stop attacking him. Klitschko stopped attacking Joshua. That's the difference. And that's where I say, yes, AJ has been tested. He fought probably the best at the time, or maybe 2nd or 3rd best again in Klitschko when he fought him. But Klitschko didn't attack once he knocked him down. He kind of just went, oh, I've knocked you down. I've won this round. I'm going to keep jabbing you and win this round easily. He didn't go in for the kill. And that's where I say that you can't compare the 2 rounds just in terms of Ortiz didn't stop attacking him. He tried to get him out of there. Once he hurt him, he tried to get him out of there. Klitschko didn't try to get AJ out of there. And that's the difference.
And just lastly, Idris, on the fight, you made the point that Wilder made, which I haven't heard that yet, so I'm going to try and catch that. That he said when he hits guys, they go down, and when Joshua kind of hits guys, he hurts them, but it's like the ref jumping in. I do agree in that Takam fight, that ref was waiting for an opportunity to stop it.
Yeah.
But do you think, like, and just if you kind of had to pick one, do you think that Wilder, pound for pound, is the hardest puncher in boxing?
Pound for pound, hardest puncher. So we're talking about all weight divisions.
Yeah, so we're talking about all weight divisions. Or would you go with like I don't know about a Spence, but Golovkin. I don't know. Okay, let's rephrase that. Do you think he hits harder pound for pound than Joshua? Because he's a lighter man.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And it's not even close. Because you look at what...
The reason why I asked that question, Idris, sorry to jump in. The reason why I asked that question is because do you remember a few months back where AJ gave that interview to IFL TV and he was like, "Oh, what is he? 15 stone? Ha 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 ha."
Yeah,
and it's like, we talked about the kind of conditioning side of things, but just power. Do you feel that Wilder just hits harder than AJ, regardless?
Yeah, definitely. And the reason why I say that is if Wilder hits you once, when you watch it, when Wilder hits a guy, that guy he's finished. In that moment, the moment that he's landed a flush punch, the fight is now then over. True. Now Wilder just goes in crazy, yeah? When Joshua hits a guy, he usually has to finish them off 2-3 times. Or he ends with a barrage and then the fight gets stopped. Yeah, when Wilder hits a guy, you're done. Like you can see in that moment, the first knockdown, you saw the fight was over against Ortiz. You saw, okay, this fight's done. With AJ, even though AJ usually gets everyone out of there, he has to consistently barrage them. Do you know what I mean? He has to constantly. Do you know what I mean? When you watch Wilder beat Stavern, he had his hands up. How can you knock a guy out with his hands up? You don't. That doesn't happen. You don't knock a guy out and he's defending. You don't knock a guy out and he can see the punch coming. You don't knock a guy out and you are in the best position to defend yourself. You don't do that. And for me, it's not even close between the two. He is pound for pound the hardest in the division. Possibly, if you look at his weight in comparison to all the other heavyweights as well, he probably is the hardest puncher in all of boxing as well.
No, I get that.
So 100%. It's not even. That one's not even close.
Hey, we haven't heard from you for a hot minute, mate. What's your thoughts on last week's fight and what this means for the heavyweight division, obviously with AJ Parker coming up?
The fight last week was good. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I stayed up, I watched the whole thing, and it was worth every minute of lost sleep I got for it. The fight. I mean, the fight went as I thought it would in a certain aspect. What I mean by that is, Ortiz was outboxing him. Ortiz was outboxing him from the get-go. And, it wasn't until about round 5 that I think, Wilder hit him properly. And, Ortiz did you can see that it buzzed him, but it didn't go down. But, I mean, the thing about Wilder is, and I'm going back on the points I've just heard, I still think he's technically not a good boxer. Because, Ortiz had him from the get-go, outboxed him cleanly from the get-go. I would say won probably every single round up until, the round that he got stopped. But the thing about Wilder is what I've clocked about Wilder is he has one good move that he does really well, and that's the jab and then the straight right hand down the pipe, or he might loop it like an overhand right. And when that lands, and he's so good at that move. When that lands, it usually is curtains, to be honest with you. I still maintain his footwork is terrible, and he's angles. He doesn't really fight from angles. He does look wild when he boxes. But as I said in the preview, that right hand is the equalizer. I mean, that right hand will get him out of jail any times. And going back onto, drawing parallels to the Klitschko fight, I honestly believe that it is, Ortiz had a massive chance for 2 rounds, not just round 7, but for round 8, because Wilder came out on Bambi legs in round 8. He took round 8 off. Ortiz won that round, but he never closed the show. He gassed out. And you could even hear in the corner, Wilder's people saying he used a lot of energy in that round. Don't worry, you be cool, you be cool, you be cool. Do you know what I mean? And it was true. Ortiz gassed himself out trying to close the show. He couldn't close the show. He had 2 rounds to do it. He didn't do it. And you know what happened next. The younger, fresher man closed the show. If Wilder was not in with a 38-year-old PED specialist, I guarantee you, if let's say he was in with Dillian Whyte and Dillian Whyte had him buzzed like that, I actually think Dillian Whyte would have had him out just because of he's a bit more younger and a bit more fresher.
Do you think so?
Honest to God, because I honestly believe, right, watching it, I honestly believe that Wilder just gassed himself out. If you compare it to Klitschko, I wouldn't say Klitschko gassed himself out. It's just like, I don't know, maybe Klitschko just thought, you know what, I have him now. He's in my thing, and he just took his time, and he was just he overfought the close, if that makes sense. But while someone else who's younger and fresher should just go for the kill. But one thing that I will say about Wilder is that I learned that answered one of my questions about him is he's got a chin. He has definitely got a chin, because the punches that Ortiz did land, even the punch that even buzzed him, I didn't even look like a punch that would buzz him. I think it was a short, choppy left hook, and I don't understand why it buzzed him so badly. But that cost him. He was out on his feet for round 7 and for round 8. But going back to what I was saying, I mean, if you're talking about punch power as well, against comparing Wilder to Joshua, I don't think we can measure it. They both got pretty much 100% knockout ratio. I do think that Wilder's knockouts have been more sickening. Like, there's a few knockouts that he's done that, the guy's all stretched out, arms and shaking on the floor. He has got a few more showreel knockouts. So I think that's why that's what will sway people's opinion. But Joshua, mate, the guy's 18 stone of pure solid muscle.
Can I chime in? Can I chime in on that just quickly?
If you don't mind, I'd just like to finish. So Joshua is just like, 18 stone of pure muscle, and he's got better boxing ability than Wilder. So if you're comparing the two and you're putting them both in the ring, I'm 9 times out of 10 when I'm comparing a fight, and when you ask me to pick a fight, I'm always going to go for the more technically gifted fighter. So I would say Joshua will beat Wilder. You can chime in.
Yeah, because when Jason asked, he asked the question for pound, and when you're talking about the 18 stone, obviously Wilder's come probably about 3 stone lighter. So obviously pound for pound, he must hit harder. If they've got the same knockout ratio, for example, then you say.
Idris, you're gonna mute, mate. I think that I get the point that Idris was trying to make. Go on, Idris. Are you back in?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so what I was saying is obviously Wilder's at least 3 stone lighter than Joshua. So pound for pound, he must hit harder, even if they had the exact same knockout ratio. I think they fought a couple of the same guys, but Wilder does leave people in concussive states. He does have more one-punch knockouts, and I think that's. But again, you're right in the sense that you can't necessarily measure it per se. But then when you look at their size difference in terms of just their pure weight, and then you look at their knockouts, then I think you'd just be more remiss to just go with the lighter guy, if you get what I'm saying.
Can I make a point here, Mike? Mike, just before I bring you in, I just wanted to make a point on this. I agree with you, AR. I think they both hit hard. And I agree on the point that Wilder kind of does leave his opponents in concussive states. I mean, I just think of some of his knockouts. Stavern 2, yeah, let's just thinking about that just wasn't good.
He had his hand up. Remember that? He had his hand up.
It was just nasty. The Spilker knockout was particularly chilling. Like, he does tend to leave them just like in a really bad state. Whereas AJ, it's slightly different. I believe they both got sickening power. I mean, they're both big guys. If they hit you on the chin, it's done. Ayo, you made the point about you don't rate Wilder's technical skills, and I agree with you to an extent. The only thing I would say, and we kind of talked about this offline, I feel that a lot of people are quite hard on Wilder's technical boxing ability and his like fundamentals, but I feel like people need to start thinking about it another way and look at him as just an unorthodox fighter, because he does have some decent fundamentals. Yes, his footwork's terrible. Yes, he doesn't have like a real boxing pedigree, but the way he's able to, as you said, use that jab at times and also time that right hand straight down the pipe
Can I
is a really effective weapon, and
can I just say
works.
something? Can
Yeah,
I just
sure.
quickly say something? I'll just quickly chime in quickly. I was just thinking this right now. If you think of all of Wilder's knockouts, you basically think of that right hand. I think all of his knockouts have come with his right hand. And it's always that right hand, setting it up with the jab and then straight down the pipe. That's the only move he's got, and it's a lethal move. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't believe, like, for example, remember when Joshua fought Klitschko and he landed that uppercut that set him up for the close? You understand that uppercut? I've never seen Wilder have a variety of shots. It's always that same jab, straight right hand, lethal down, and if he lands it, it's over. That's all I'm gonna say. That's why I'm saying that he is an awkward fighter and he's got a long reach. He's got weight on his side. He's very athletic. All of that is to his advantage, and of course the power. But I mean, in terms of like variety of shots and the rest of it, he's quite the same, really.
Can I quickly add to that point? I do agree with you in terms of his knockouts are generally the same, but again, with his hardest opponent to date, the two punches that did finish Ortiz was a right hand to the temple coming from the right, so it wasn't down the middle, and the actual finishing punch was an uppercut. That might have been left-handed as well. I think it might have been left-handed as well.
It was definitely an uppercut. Yeah,
it was definitely an uppercut. So again, I hear you, Ayo. I'm not actually disagreeing with you, but I'm saying, he fought his hardest opponent, and he finished off with two punches we haven't seen him finish off opponents with. So I think we just got to give him more. He's 40-0 and he's 39 knockouts. We just got to say, until someone just beats him, and it might be AJ, but I'm just gonna say he's got better boxing skills than we give him credit for. That's what I'm gonna say, and the reason why I give him the edge over AJ, and it's not even because, again, I'm gonna say whoever lands the first powerful punch is probably going to win the fight. Because AJ, if he was in Ortiz's position, he gets him out of there. And again, if Wilder was in Klitschko's position, he gets him out of there. However, Ortiz is a better boxer than AJ. And, even though AJ is more athletic, he's not a better boxer than Ortiz. And I think Wilder will find it easier to get through to AJ's defenses than he did against Ortiz. And that's the reason why I'll give him the edge over AJ to begin with. But like I said, whoever gets the first punch is getting the other guy out of there.
I agree with that. I think Ortiz, as old as he allegedly is, and as undoped as he allegedly is, he's a very clever fighter. He was very clever in that fight. He used all his kind of ring craft and his pedigree. And, quite frankly, he is a better boxer than AJ. And I think he presented some problems that Wilder just didn't really have a clue on how to deal with. I kind of agree with your point, Ayo, that I had Ortiz winning the majority of rounds up until it got stopped. And I think the scorecards, we could have a whole podcast talking about the scorecards, but I think when the fight was stopped, all three scorecards had Wilder up by 2 rounds. So I don't know what they were smoking. But yeah, I think the AJ Wilder fight is building nicely. I don't.
This Parker doesn't stop that.
Well, you know what? If Parker beats AJ, fair play to him. Let's see Wilder Parker, but I think that fight's building nicely, and I definitely want to see that next. I don't want to see AJ versus Big Baby Miller or Wilder versus Dominic Brazil, but let's see. Mike, passing on to you because conscious you ain't been in for a while, mate. What was your thoughts on the fight?
Okay, first of all, just touching on the Ortiz and Wilder fight. After that fight, my opinion of Wilder's gone up. I rated him before, but I wouldn't say he was like wow. But yeah, after that performance, I did question his chin before, but yeah, I mean Ortiz hit him with some bombs, man, and he took them well. So yeah, I take my hat off to Wilder. Regarding round 7, I do believe that if the bell didn't come when it come, I still think Wilder would have recruited and still won the fight. But yeah, man, the knockouts were devastating, and I just echo what everyone else said, man. He's got that equalizer. It's like Nazim said after the embarrassment of little Pee Wee Eubank Jr., when he said that, look, you always need, if everything else fails, you always need that knockout punch. And Wilder's got that. Whether it's the over-the-top punch or straight down the pipe, he's got that punch. With regards to AJ and Parker, I think AJ's got to put on a big show because at the moment, all the momentum is with Wilder at the moment. That's a great
point, Mike.
He's knocked out the most. Yeah, no, I'm saying he's knocked out the one person that everybody said meant to avoid it, according to Mr. Gravy Train, Eddie Hearn. He said that he's fighting the one that everyone avoided, and he dealt with him. So I think AJ's got to put a big statement out against Parker. I think he needs to do a convincing knockout would be shut up, put it all to bed. Listen, there is no other fight. That would be just the icing off on the cake, just to finish of all debates whether who should be fighting next, mate. There is no other fight out there. It's got to be Wilder, AJ, end of story. Eddie Hearn, do whatever you've got to do to get the fight done. No one don't want to see AJ versus a dustman or Wilder fighting some little mini mouse, man. They want to see Wilder, AJ, get it on, no excuse. So yeah, I think AJ's got to put a big statement out against Parker, whether it's a big knockout or a schooled boxing class performance, but he's got to do it convincingly, and he's got to send a message out to Wilder to say, listen, mate, there's two of us going for the same thing. But one thing I do like about AJ, he's honest. He doesn't like trash talk. He just does what he needs to do. I mean, I don't know if anyone caught the Gloves Are Off interview with Parker and AJ. But he did make some interesting points on that show. So if anyone didn't catch it, it's worth a flick.
Oh, damn. Is it out now already? I saw the preview.
I watched it on demand.
Oh, damn.
But yeah, it's definitely worth a flick. AJ made some interesting quotes in that little half-hour flick. So yeah, if anyone didn't catch it, yeah, it's worth a watch.
No, good shout, Mike. I will put it on the bucket list for tonight. Mike, you made a great point that we kind of all missed. I feel like Deontay Wilder's got the momentum. Like, let's be honest, he's been poorly promoted up until now. But everybody's talking about Deontay Wilder now. You know, he had some momentum off the Stavern fight, although people said, you know, look at the state of Stavern. I mean, he wasn't in the best of condition. And now he's kind of gone on to the Ortiz fight and he's made another statement. And if you think about it, he's kind of forcing the fight now. He's like, he's kind of like putting a lot of pressure on Uncle Ed.
He has to. He has to. It's got to be done. Hello? Jay, I think Jay's gone. Jay, you still there?
I think somebody's muted himself by accident because we're still live.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what's happened there.
Definitely his end.
Yeah. I'm just looking for the AJ. Okay, I found it. Yeah, Gloves Are Off.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a flick.
What was the next topics we were going to talk about?
I think it was Charlo's,
and then the Canelo situation as well to finish off Canelo and the PEDs.
Yes.
I don't know. Is Mike still there? Is Ayo still there?
No, I'm here.
Oh.
I think the next topic was the whole madness with Kell Brook and the Charlo brothers and the beef with Errol Spence. So
Yes.
I don't know if Idris, you wanna kick off on that. There's been a lot being said online and everything. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
On the what's it called Errol Spence and
the calling outs with Errol Spence and the Charlo brothers and Kell Brook as well. Kell Brook is apparently calling out the Charlo brothers and Errol Spence at the same time, pretty much. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, what's it called? Who's it? Is it Jamel Charlo trained with Errol Spence and his trainer in it? And yeah, Jamel Charlo. So obviously they're in the same camp, and obviously I think what's it called? There's obviously been talk with Errol and Jamel, and I think. I do think Kell Brook is much better at 154. I think he's much better at higher weight, and I think he'll carry a lot more power. I think there'll be less cutting for him, and he looks really good against in his last fight. I do think the Jamel or Jamal would pose a lot of problems for Kell Brook. I do think fighting Errol at 154, what's called Kell Brook would have a better chance, but. Maybe it's because I'm a fanboy of Errol Spence, but I just think I think Errol Spence would beat him again. And he didn't lose to Errol Spence by him just being gassed out, and Errol Spence broke his eye socket. He hit him hard enough to break his eye socket to make him have to tap out essentially. So I personally think he'd lose again to Errol. I think it'd be a very, 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 very close and very good fight against Jamel Charlo. I still would give it to Jamel though to beat Kell. But they'd be great fights, and they'd be fights I'd step forward to watch because they'd be so. I wouldn't know. It'd be so exciting to watch. Do you know what I mean? Because these are fighters who attack. They're not fighters who just defend. They attack and they go for each other, and it'll be great to watch. I enjoy the beef because the Charlo brothers, for me, they talk. They're not trash talkers in the sense of they're calling guys out and absolutely cussing them. They're talking. They're making sense of what they're saying. They're saying this is the situation and this is what I want. I want to fight anyone and everyone. Even when he was it Jamal Charlo? Yeah, when it was Jamal talking to Daniel Jacobs, and he was saying, look, I'm not caring about the money. Daniel Jacobs was like, you're not in the M's yet. You're not in the M's yet. Bro, I'm not talking about the money. I just want to fight you. Like, let's just fight. You're saying you're better than me. You're saying this. No, let's just fight. Then fight me. Forget the money. Let's fight. And that's what I like about the Charlos. It's that rawness, that old school mentality of let's just fight. Stop talking. And the great thing I love about the Charlos more than anything, whereas the Klitschko brothers were, they're both world champions and stuff, heavyweight world champions at the same time. They never fought each other. The Charlos have spoken openly about they'd fight each other. I mean, that's crazy to me. To me, that's crazy. You're gonna fight your own brother, and it's, they said, look, if things are right, we're both, we're the first twins to ever do it. If things are right and the money's right, we'll fight each other. And for me, that's a mentality beyond any other boxer I've ever seen, because they're willing to fight their own flesh and blood. Yeah. So what are they willing to do to you? Do you know what I mean? And I think Kell Brook. I think that mentality going into a Kell Brook fight, I think Kell Brook would have a lot of problems, man. I think he'd have a chance naturally. I rate Kell Brook, but the Charlos, man, either one of them, I think they'll do him. So,
yeah, some good points there. I mean, when you talk about that old school mentality with the Charlo brothers, sort of like calling out anyone, do you think that might be because they're not too big a name? Or they're not that well promoted. So do you think they're just calling out anyone and anyone just for the hell of it, sort of thing?
Well, you could say we could probably talk about maybe they haven't been well promoted, but was it Jamal was with Golden Boy?
Yeah.
And he was trying to get the Canelo fight.
Yeah.
And he was saying that they were basically they kept on lying to him and things like that. And when I was looking into the stuff, they found him a threat.
Yeah.
So he left them because he says, look, I'm a threat to Canelo, and they know this. So they were just doing all their best. They'll send me here, there, and everywhere to fight these other guys that I was just dismissing, but they weren't trying to give me the fights that was going to put me on the map.
Yeah.
So he goes, I had to leave. And I don't think it's a lack